A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey Ozama.
Yes, Thursday comes with clement weather, and we'll welcome you to your perfect morning starter. It's the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television, where we'll help you make sense of the biggest stories in the last 24 hours, maybe beyond, depending on where our coverage area spreads to. How are you doing today? Let's get started, shall we?
State police has officially been passed into law, at least at the National Assembly level. It's now up to the State House of Assembly, where we get to see what happens there. They needed a two-thirds majority amongst the 36 state assemblies to be able to make it officially grown known. So the law, the bill is actually to alter the provisions. I think this is the sixth or seventh alteration to the or amendment, if you will, to the 1999 Constitution since 1999. We've had a series of them, I think 2010, 2017 or so, the not too young to run era. So we've been doing the amendment to the Constitution in piecemeal. In the less than 30 years, we've done it maybe between 5 to 7 times. I'm not sure the exact number. But this is good progress. And I wrote on my DP yesterday, I said, State Police, panacea or palaver. We'll get to see what this, how this plays out. But I hope, I do not know how this works in terms of legislation, this particular one. But usually legislation like this, I think there should be some form of public hearing because this National Assembly sometimes may make some mistake that we need to keep adjusting, maybe in terms of tenses, in terms of inconsistency, in what they have done as far as legislation and amending the ground norm is concerned. So, will I say congratulations to Nigerians? The president will not be the only one getting the hit. If I have my way, Bukola, I don't know whether I want this to be effected before the election. I would prefer this is, kept at bay till after the election. Maybe I don't know what all of those details are. All of those details we'll get to find out even much later because it was passed yesterday. So some of us are still looking at the bill that has now been passed to know the core component. I've seen part of the draft. I've seen some things that issues were raised. I hope they are corrected. But implementation, when will it come to effect? I do not know yet. Whether it's going to be as soon as the State House of Assembly are done with theirs, then President signs, and then it becomes grown up. So what part of what the law says is where states are not able to have their own state police, the federal police will surface. Part of what was in the draft, I don't know what is the final bill now, where states that are not ready to have state police for whatever reason, the federal police will surface for those states. And of course, they adopted something that looks like what the NJC does in terms of appointment of judges and all of that. So CPs, DCP, ACP, especially the CP, for instance, it has to go nomination from the police council at the state, nomination by the Gatin governor on the recommendation of the police council to go to the National Police Council, who will do all of those approval, and then will come for confirmation by the State House of Assembly. So some level of safeguards, and even where the governor, for instance, gives an instruction that is contrary to what the extant law and standard practice is, well, the commissioner can say no, and if he feels he's not comfortable, he can, reference it to the higher level, and that higher level is going to be final. So I'm being careful because I've seen the draft. I'm still looking at the final element of that. But if I have my way, I don't think this should come into effect till after the election, because some of these governors will mess it up for us.
But there will be subsequent elections, Jeffrey.
At least this one.
As we always say, we cannot legislate morality. We cannot legislate good behavior. People will just have to resolve to do right by themselves if we must all move forward collectively. I believe that we all have our contributions to make. But the palaver part of your concern is contained, I believe, in clause 17 of the proposed constitutional amendment. And I kind of like the language that it uses. It says the state police service shall be headed by a commissioner of police of the state appointed by the governor of the state on the recommendation of the National Police Council, subject to confirmation by the House of Assembly of the state, and to such qualifications and national minimum standards as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. So, Jeffrey, there are a lot of actors involved in the appointment of the State Police Commissioner, even though it's the governor, according to the State Police Bill, that will appoint the police commissioner on the recommendation of the State Assembly
and
the
recommendation
of the National Police Council.
No, on recommendation of the State Police Commission. The State Police Commission?
On the recommendation of the National Police Council. I'm reading it here.
Oh, okay. On
the recommendation of the National Police Council, subject to confirmation by the State House of Assembly, and to such qualifications as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly.
Which of them are you reading? Is it the Inspector General or the State Police now?
Yeah, the State Police Bill. That's what I'm reading. So there are a lot of actors involved in the recommendation, but the basic being that the governor is the one that recommends. And we know that when a president or a governor is the one that has the powers to make a recommendation, and the confirmation comes through from, the State Assembly or the National Assembly, as the case may be, as we have seen in other levels of appointment in our own peculiar type of democracy, the concern over he who pays the piper dictates the tune comes through. But if you listen to our conversation on our sister political program yesterday with the Kaduna State Governor, it appears as if, there is a good measure of goodwill involved, but that's just one state governors. We're talking about 36 state governors, and that means 36 very different individuals. So how would they, execute this particular legislation in the best interests of the people, being national security, if you like, state security at that particular subnational level? So we hope that, this goes through to become the silver bullet, or if you like, the factor that will move the needle in ensuring stability for security in our country, because all of the developments, all of the reforms that the administration is, carrying through, implementing or executing, as the case may be, may not yield dividends. As a matter of fact, by more than average of the percentage, may not yield the result that we desire if there is no peace, security, stability, and justice that is critical to a policing structure, a security structure that works, that ensures that the people pursue their dreams, and they thrive in, a peaceful atmosphere. And so that is very critical, to look at it. But there are other levels of legislation, recommendations in this particular legislation that we'll be looking through, as we bring in the experts. And that is huge on our conversation this morning. Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm looking at the clause 17 that you read. I think sub 7. No direction under this section shall require the arrest, detention, investigation, non-investigation, deployment or use of force against any named person, political party, association, class of persons, except in accordance with law, or require police service or any member of the police service to act unlawfully, violate fundamental rights, suppress lawful political activity, discriminate against any person or group, or enforce the law for a partisan, ethnic, religious, sectional, or personal purpose. And it goes on to talk about you cannot just remove a commissioner of police without fair hearing.
Indeed.
On the recommendation
so while
of the
governor
MPC,
may appoint, the sacking has to be determined by the National Police Council.
Yeah, so there are a couple of people involved. National Police Council will hear the counter-argument, subject to the approval and resolution supported by not less than 2/3 majority members of the State Assembly. You see why yesterday I said that?
So if it's a no-brainer that there's, under our curious democratic structure, the State Assembly is not independent. They're an appendage of the state governors. That's the reality.
Now you're going to where I started off yesterday.
So will the National Police Council be independent?
We just hope. We've seen the National Judicial Council. They felt we expect more. The National Judicial Council, for instance, can do more. We know, but we've seen them take action when they want to take action, suspending people, demoting people, forcing people to retire, all of that. So to that extent, let's just, like our guest said yesterday, we're marrying a new wife. Let's see how it plays out in this marriage. whether who is going to be the troublesome person, the wife or the husband in this case. We don't know yet.
So who is the wife in this case? Who is the husband?
State police is the wife.
Is the wife. Who is
we're
the husband?
As in the Nigerian people.
No, I doubt that we're the husbands.
No, because
we're the ones, the children, at the receiving end of this new marriage that has been contracted.
Okay, maybe
I think the husband would be the state governors.
The implementers. Let's call it the people that will implement it.
The state governors.
So I am hopeful that we can have independent legislature, and just like we're calling for independent judiciary as much as possible. So this is more like modeling it after the NJC. There's a lot of similarity. So you don't just wake up because you don't like the commissioner is not doing what you don't like. You just wake up and fire him. It's not going to happen. So we hope that, as you've said, the NPC, National Police Council, can be as independent as possible so that the shenanigans of people down the line will be curbed. But you and I, so we have 36 states, and the FCT doesn't have a state assembly, or it's an assembly. It's a national assembly that legislates for them. So we hope that you and I can rise up to our responsibility as citizens to ensure that whoever we're going to be voting into our state house of assembly are people of courage, people of integrity. At least majority of the people should be people of courage and people of integrity, so that this legislation can give the kind of bite it requires. I think part of it is that there's a minimum standard that will be set by the National Assembly. No state can go below that. You can upscale it. So we're going to see which state police is going to be the most efficient in the long run. So we're going to be having Lagos State Police, Rivers State Police, Delta State Police, Kano State Police. We're going to have all of the state police across the country.
I wonder if it would be, in the manner of the American policing system, where we have the LAPD.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They call their own department. New York Police Department, Los Angeles Police Department. They even have counties and sheriff in all those places. So they have all this structure.
So we have Lagos Police, Ogun Police, Kaduna Police.
I don't know that.
It will all evolve and unfold in the coming days.
But in each of the states, there will be components of the federal police.
Of course,
the law is very clear.
The General has made assurances to that effect, that this doesn't collapse the national police structure.
Because the bigger picture, which we're going to run with our guests, is to the effect that this is not just about decentralization. It's about effective management of our national security. Let's not lose sight of that. Anything below that, then we're just wasting our time. And then we also saw that Mike Ozekome, senior advocate of Nigeria, now has been, is it?
Descent?
I'm trying to look for
want of better language.
He has been suspended from the rank of a senior advocate of Nigeria for reasons that they listed. But I know that there is a presumption of innocence when it comes to this case, but I don't know what the laws are, or what the guidelines or the ethics around being a senior advocate are, because they are the members of the inner bar. Besides live benchers, they are also very senior as far as the legal profession is concerned. But
the LPPC statement, issued yesterday, actually doesn't state the reason for his suspension. But we know that the senior advocate has been involved in allegations of forgery brought against him by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. If we went into details, in February, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation had rearranged Mr. Ozekome and Mr. Oseni's son. That's one of the actors in the alleged investigation. That's Pomfa Oseni, regarding their roles in a London property scandals. They are arraigned on 12 charges of forgery and impersonation before the Federal High Court in Maitama, Abuja. Yeah, so
I think the only line here
there's a presumption of innocence.
Yeah, the only line here that speaks to that is the suspension is intended to safeguard the integrity, dignity, and prestige of the rank, while due consideration is given to the matters under review. But we'll take a break now, guys. We have a packed conversation today with the guests who will be helping us to make sense of what's happening in the country. But we'll take a break, come back, and look at the papers. Stay with us. All right, so let's bring in our guest, Mr. Ambrose Igboke. He's the Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst in Enugu State Chapter. Mr. Igboke, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Let's go to this Nigeria, at least with everything that everyone perhaps is talking about. Next up, state assemblies. Senate passes historic state police bill. Mr. Igboke is here finally. What do you make of it?
I have always been an advocate for state police because what happened to us with the decree issued by General Aguiyi-Ironsi in 1966 was a national tragedy where everything was centralized in a command and control structure. It's still what is affecting us today, where we don't have a true fiscal federalism, where our federalism is still tied to a kind of unitary system of government. Every month, state governors go to Abuja to collect national stipends called a federal allocation. This should not be in a federating country, an entity like Nigeria. Let's keep doing this until we touch the core of fiscal federalism, where the subnationals are actually the power base of economy, and they pay taxes and some royalties and other things to the center. That is how a country should run. While the federal government is left with important matters like currency, defense, diplomacy, and other things. That is where, if you check countries that run very well, you see it's very, very functional in those kind of states. So for us to have started with security is a good one, because that section of the Constitution that empowers the state governor to be the chief security officer, while at the same time stripping him of all the powers that are daring as a chief executive officer, is very befuddling. It's contradictory. But again, those are the kind of things put together by the military. Most of their constitutions were put together by military. There were carryovers of decrees, from subsequent military regimes. And I think at a point, I don't know whether they were afraid of the police, where they didn't want to give police so much power and make sure they control them, just like the army structure. The police is not like the army structure. The police is for the civilians, and therefore they are not supposed to be run that way. So if this comes true, and we pray it does, then the governors will not have any excuse anymore. A governor will say, oh, there's insecurity because I don't have the powers to do this. And sometimes we have seen commissioners of police snub the governor and deride the governor, disrespect governors and the rest. So when you make this happen, then the security of the local security will be in the hands of the governors. So they come in the forest, you not wait for an inspector general of police from Abuja to come cook the forest for you, or the chief of what we call the commander-in-chief to come around. So collaborations will now be the key. And then a lot of states already have some kind of structures. So it may be upgrading, like some of them have forest guards, some of them have these things. So the trainings, so we have the police, we need to map out what's the structure, how is the training going to be, what is the identification, what ranks and all those things, who are those eligible. So some of these powers will be derived from the federal police, because now policing is in a concurrent list if it is achieved. I will hope that is achieved even before the next election. Meanwhile, there are fears about what the state governors some state governors may be able to do with the state police. But I think those fears, while they are there, we'll find the ways to see how we can hedge them. But the advantages of state police far more outweighs the disadvantages.
Well, the papers are awash with state police this morning, the state police story, and there's evident enthusiasm in all of the reportage. But you said something critical that should be highlighted, Mr. Igboke, and that would be that collaboration is key. Even under the current structure, there's always been an advocacy for collaboration, for a synergy amongst the subnationals to execute, joint security, whatever it would look like, and that has been evidently lacking. So I wonder if there'll be any difference this time when they're all acting alone and by compulsion. That's just to highlight that particular part. Yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah, let me say something. Some state governors have been, over the years, have been so disconcerted by the way the federal police arrangement is made. I remember Governor Chibika Amechi, when he was governor of Rivers State, trained some policemen, even brought in, I think, the Israelis to make some trainings and the rest, equip them, give them human capacity training. And the next thing, some of them were transferred out of the state. So, but with this state police, you could still, maybe governors living in a contiguous zone, like geopolitical zone, cannot collaborate and say, okay, we train our police is what they need. You cannot do cross-border security, actions together. You cannot equip your police the way you want it to be equipped. You cannot buy the equipment. When you do resource training for them, you know that they're going to stay in your state. You are not afraid that they're going to be posted out in the next minute by one IG that just comes in. And with this, people can plan long-term for security issues. And I think it will be a good development for overall security in the country.
Indeed. And let's look at just a few stories on the front page of leadership newspapers, which also, have to do with security. Right there beside the big story on the right-hand corner of leadership newspaper, Nigeria backs U.S. sanctions against ISWAP financiers. Right under it, you find Governor Sule links terrorism banditry to Alamajiri system out of school children crisis. And lastly, right under it as well, terrorism court sentences 2 Nigerians, 1 foreigner to death. I'd like you to tie these 3 stories together.
Well, the 3 stories revolve around terrorism. I don't think we do not know why terrorism exists. I think it is all there. It is all, even in papers, articles, journal research, position papers, investigations. Indeed, even just, I think, less than 48 hours ago, we were told that 3 Nigerians were also fingered as sponsors of terrorism who run bureau de change. So these things are there. The way you link the Alimajiri factor, you find out that when you have millions of children, teenagers, roaming around the streets, looking for where to eat, looking for what to do, these are ready machines for the hands of recruitment for the terrorists. And these have been happening. President Goodluck Jonathan, in his time, tried to see how he could stem the tide of Almajiris by building what he called Almajiri schools all over the northern part of the country. But immediately he left office, the thing collapsed. Those places are overgrown with weeds and all kinds of things. One begins to wonder what kind of leadership will allow the Almajiris, schools that he built, where he wanted to, bring them in to be educated, to have skills and be able to be off the street. But it seems that there are some particular clique of elites that do not want these Alimajiri children to be off the streets because they are just tools to be used by them. So the federal government should not look at it as, and some people are trying to color it as a religious issue. It's not religion. Islamic religion have one of the best best scholars in the world, that best scientists and all those. Go to Iran, they have one of the best scientists in the world. Go to Saudi Arabia, go to the people who promoted Islam to us. They are one of the best in terms of scholars and academic brilliance. So nobody should try to use religion to fool us and tell us, oh, the Al-Majri is not a religious system. It's not true. The religious system is supposed to be tutored in science, in Arabic, in Islam, in everything. So the federal government should take it as a way. Maybe there's a way they can bring in the revered royal institutions in the north to see how they can begin to tackle this thing so that they'll not be at the disposal of terrorists. And also, the American collaboration with Nigeria is good. Let's also look at our brethren because most of them coming from Chad, Niger, and the rest. That interborder and entity of states trying to collaborate should continue, because I think we have had a drag recently because of the issues that happened in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso pulling out of ECOWAS. But I think it's time to also look at, even if they are not part of ECOWAS, let's look at the security of our contiguous entities. And we thought that we can be able to do something. But now it is a very dangerous situation where these people can just walk in, ISWAP and all other terrorist organizations can walk in and have millions of ready hands to be recruited. It's dangerous, very, very dangerous for our security trials we have been trying to execute.
All right, Mr. Booker, as we begin to wind down, let's go to the Guardian newspaper, just above or beneath the nameplate. Some stories there. Mr. Onanuga granted an interview in a sister station. Literally stoked the fire when he said the hunger that people are complaining about, he doesn't seem to see it. His sample size was people that worked with him, which was a bit interesting because even the president has acknowledged in his June 12th speech the hardship Nigerians are facing due to the economic policy where he's asking for patience. So I'd like you to respond to that. So presidency detached from reality, says opposition, after Onanuga's no hunger remarks. And then Nigeria targets 277 gigawatt power by 2060. Very ambitious. Presidency denies Tinubu's "don't vote for me" comments. And I had to go and listen to what he said. You know, he had said, if there will not be estimated billing, and if he comes back and he doesn't give you power, don't vote for him. He said, unless I give you adequate reasons why I couldn't deliver, and it's convincing enough. Those were the full statements. So that verdict doesn't lie with the president, lies with us. If he's convincing, it's not him, it's us. But what's your comment?
Well, let me start with the Tinubu story about electricity. Tinubu knows Nigerians very well. He knows that they will forget about it and they will not even interrogate him on that. And because we are people who do politics with our hearts and not with our head. So far, it's the color of our party, it's our party logo, our party leader has said it, it's from our ethnic group, it's from our religion, it's from my side. Everything is okay, well, no matter how bad he does it. So he knows Nigerians. And he knows that they won't take him seriously. They won't even interrogate those things. He said, I will go to Rotimi Amechi again that said one time in a campaign, I've forgotten the year, when he said, we politicians do what we do because you don't stone us. He said it in a stadium, people were clapping for him. And there were stones lying down everywhere. Nobody used it. So we are what we are as a people, or we are docile. Politicians will keep on making statements like that, grandiose statements like that. And when the time comes, they will renege on it because they know we won't take it seriously. As for Mr. Onanuga, he's not the presidency. The president and commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic has also acknowledged the fact that there's poverty in the land. I always said that Bayo Onanuga does not know how to speak as a spokesperson because he's not a PR person. He's not trained in the art of public communication. He's just a journalist. And sometimes I sympathize with the limitations of his knowledge. He's a brilliant person, a brilliant journalist, but that is where it is. I mean, he thinks he's writing opinions, or articles or feature stories. That is the problem. Where you are playing. So is a researcher? Has he done his research? So when you do, there's what you call population of study and sample size in research. Where did he get it? So when you want to make that kind of statement, that means you have to go through every country, every state in Nigeria to be able to pull that sample size. But he didn't do that. As usual, he just made a flippant statement. I think I should encourage him to read them if he has not, but I suspect he would have by now. Read about the story of the what happened in King Louis and his wife Marie Antoinette, because this is the answer that Marie Antoinette gave, leading to the point where they asked her, "Oh, the people have no bread to eat." He said, "Well, they don't have bread, give them cake." That is how detached she was from reality, because cake was more expensive than bread, and people were dying for lack of bread. And you are saying the substitute is cake. I don't blame him. I think he has forgotten also. Onanuga has forgotten quickly what happened to him while he was fighting for restoration of democracy in 1993 up to 1998, where there were ones that did guerrilla journalism. So I think sometimes comfort can make you forget the days of integrity.
Mr. Ambrose, thank you so much. Chairman Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter. As I said, Mr. Onanuga's sample size for the people that worked in his house, and he expects them to tell him the truth. Thank you. I appreciate.
Thank you, everybody. Having me this morning.
Thank you. We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, we'll get to the conversation the very first. So we're talking about state police. We're going to talk about freedom of speech and democracy. Otumba Sowunmi is our guest. Join us.
Otumba.
You'll be here.
It takes some learning, yeah. Welcome back. So let's get right into it. Otumba Segun Sowunmi joined us right there in our Lagos studio on the morning brief. Now, I wonder if I'm correct by addressing you as PDP chieftain.
Well, it still works. It works.
You're also founder of the alternative movement.
Yes, I am. Yes,
okay, so while I'm tempted to get into what is most important or what is topical right now, I can't help but ask. You said recently that you have secured the ticket, the governorship ticket for a party, and you have declared your intention to run for the governorship race 2027. But is it for the PDP?
No.
But you're a PDP chieftain.
No, listen now. The fact that the present Electoral Act was written mid-season threw a lot of politicians into trouble. And the main trouble was that you can't, I've never left the PDP, and I've been running for governor for some time. I tried in the last cycle. And I hold the view very strongly that a state must balance its own power within the context of a political party. Ogun Central, where I come from, we're the largest by size and we're the capital. That's where Obasanjo comes from. That's the Bankole, the whole works. And our party, the PDP, has never allowed us an opportunity for that ticket. So what has happened to us is that every time the Ogun Central people wanted to be governor, our people had always ended up going to look for the ticket in other parties. And it has affected the PDP's fortunes significantly. But that's that. What I tried to do really was not to go to another party, was to try and see whether all this talk of coalition, can we just go to the grassroots and speak to parties that are existing in the grassroots? Maybe we'll be able to say, okay, if we really want to challenge, which one of this platform can we use? Can we agree? It's not as easy as that. So that's why you see that I've not really been able to declare. But there's a placeholder situation already in place.
Because we know that the PDP already has a governorship candidate in Ogun State.
The PDP has the PDP has their usual customer. But when we get to the details of how we're going to run 2027, we get into that. So
you are the governorship candidate of another party?
No, there's a placeholder there right now. We're playing some tricks. You know, the new thing we have in the country is that...
And what you're doing is not anti-party activity.
What does anti-party mean? The people that are even the leaders of the party are endorsing another party. No, we've gone past that stage. We've gone past that stage. In any case, I've not even declared it publicly. So technically, I'm still borderline safe. Borderline safe.
In the understanding of Nigerian politicians, typically, because we don't understand that.
I know.
In terms of what should be the values.
Let me make it easy so that our opponents will understand. After the 2023 election, the major conversation on the table was, let's try and build a coalition. The promoter of that idea really is Atiku Abubakar, give him his credit. But when they were trying to do it, they were building it at the top. I wanted to govern. I said, look, you can't build a coalition at the top. You have two options. Either you register a new party, everybody empties into it, like happened with the APC, which is a playbook, or you go back to the base and try to see who are the players there, what are the parties doing, so you can see whether you can wedge it together. But I tell you what, even for the APC, they tried to build out a coalition in 2011. It wasn't that easy. It was only until 2015 when they all agreed that, okay, we're dumping our old party, CPC and ACN, before they could do this. So I knew it was going to be like some kind of experimentation, but hey, when we get to the bridge, we will damn cross it. And if I am not going to run, I've always said, and I've said very clearly, especially on Okinbaloye's show, that almost predictably, I'll take my finger and say, okay, this is where we're going. And more than likely, we'll be able to move people there. So it's either we're running or we're backing someone good.
Okay, we'll interrogate your destination.
Don't worry, when we get to that,
your
we don't be in a hurry. We have to September before we finish all the substitutions. You know, the timetable is out. Presidentials will do their substitution maybe around August, and governors and House of Assembly will do it by September. So, not bad at all. Okay. 24 hours is a long time in politics.
Indeed. We'll have time to interrogate your political destination later on. But let's now look at the matter of state police, which is very critical at this point in time. The Senate has now passed that bill, and we'll begin to have a window into the content of the bill. What are your thoughts on especially that particular component that allows state governors to appoint a state police commissioner?
You know, the first thing I did when the president transmitted that letter, I wrote him a whole prayer, a very big, heartfelt prayer. I put his life in the hands of God. I asked God to keep him well and make him stable. You know why? We have had this federal policing structure. It came from the British. And even at that, before we amalgamated it together around 1914, there were structures of policing up to the level of kingships. And by the time we entered into the republic system, we even had county polices or something like alcalis, and there were those type of arrangement. Then those who wanted the unitary system, the Roses and Coos of this world, they wanted the federal policing structure, with Louis Edet being the first Inspector General of Police. And if you like our country, you must understand that our population is getting larger. Our challenges are getting more urbane and urban. We're now dealing with essential crisis around security that you can criticize those who are battling with it, but you must look at what is the structural component that can help security. And then you're going to say that, yes, the federal policing structure is good, we can tinker with it, you can make it better, but how about we give the states now, like a proper federation, how about we give them the power to police? They have the powers to have their own assembly. That means they can make their own laws. They have the power to have their own attorney general. That means they can basically take people to court, and all that. They have their own federal high court. And now I know that by the Admission of Criminal Justice Act, they have the powers to have their own prisons. Now, what then would be the missing component? If you're building the infrastructure, you need policing. And you know what? Most of our leaders before now, I hate to say it all the time because it kind of like make me feel like closet APC, but most of the leaders before now, they will look at the big issues and they will shy away from it. One of them was this restructure, was the subsidy. No sane person could have allowed us to be wasting money, but it was difficult because once you do it, it's going to have percolating effect on the people, and if you can't take the heat, you won't do it. So everybody kept postponing it until we got into a mess. Look at the arbitrage we were dealing with our currency. We couldn't even balance it in such a way that investors could say, okay, the country is stable, we can put money in there, we can take money out. All the airlines, remember, they stopped taking our money. It's a difficult decision because once you do it, it's also going to percolate on, and he's done it. And now, dude has done state police, Mr. President, Eagle One, well done. Because the argument people make that, oh, it will be abused, oh, it will be this, is so annoying. How do you say you call a governor, you give him all the right, all the privileges, all everything, and then the one thing he needs to be held to make him absolutely responsible for whatever insecurity is happening today, you don't give him. And every time there's a problem, you know what governor says? No, we're not in charge of security. So now we've removed that excuse. How will it work in practice? I'm not as pessimistic as people. I expect that every state now know that, one, you have the capability to recruit, forget about even who is leading. First of all, recruit your own people. That means that they are emotionally invested in solving crime of their people, number one. Number two, the crimes in areas are different. Some locations in Nigeria, the main crime they need to be dealing with is preventing people from preventing their children from going to school. Most of their leaders who talk now, their parents were handled by local police and thrown in jail because they tried to prevent their sons from going to school. And some of their sons have gone on to be one of the biggest in the society only because there was a local policing arrangement that said not in this line.
No, Mr. Sowunmi, by the model of what a state police is, the New York State, we know the good part, but this is Nigeria.
Okay.
So you cannot discountenance the fears people have. I'll give you a clear-cut example.
Okay.
The House of Assembly, you and I know, are literal, arguably appendages of the governor. So we have inefficient...
And the Senate and the National Assembly, they don't appendages of the
We're
president.
talking about states now.
No, I'm just saying that the appendage, there is National Assembly, not the appendage of the president.
So I want to dwell with states.
Let's dwell.
Appendages of the governor.
Yeah,
whims and caprices of the governor. Local governments, literally, they control it, even if it's a tier of government. In fact, the president has been having a running battle with them. He warned them the last time and said, I have the yam and the knife. I'll use an EO and do what I have to do.
Can I jump into that immediately?
No, just hold on. If you don't allow these monies to get to them, and it's still a battle because they are talking about JAG, constitutional amendment, and all of that. So I brought this as a premise to say, you cannot invalidate people's fears of abuse. So the most important thing is to recognize this inevitability and know how to check it. Do you think by the legislation we have, we'll be able to check it?
First things first, let me first of all say to you that America has a gun culture. It started out from wanting to protect themselves even from raccoons and wild animals and then protect themselves from it. It's come with some consequence. People pick a gun and kill people. They're still struggling to figure out how to make it safe. There's no foolproof structure in the world or idea in the world that doesn't want to have his own challenges. You put somebody in charge of money, he steals it. That does not mean we're not going to give them money the next day. Now, when the president says he wants to talk to the governors in that manner, he's overrunning his privileges. A federal system must originally be imagined that the president can have some elements of control on governors, but it's not the president's business to go to local government in practice. But if you have a situation like ours, where you now need to be a little bit creative to figure out how to get money down to the local government and hope that it can work, the president can then just be using his extra privileges. Gentlemen, please, please, please let local government work. I tell you this, never imagine that the law is created only for the now. Laws are created for the long-term developmental instrument that can allow good people run their state. If a good man is a governor and he wants to invest in security and he doesn't have the wherewithal and he doesn't have the legal framework to do it, he can't do it. Okay, would there be a bad man there? What will he really do? What will a rogue governor do? You think a rogue governor will just wake up in the morning and call police that are from the same environment and just instruct them, go and start killing people? It's not going to work that way. Nobody is going to allow that level of lunacy. In any case, there's still the federal structure on top of it. The federal police, like you will see with Canada, with Germany, with America, you will see that the federal police steps in when it comes to the kinds of things they call federal council. I think that after the 1983 coup, when you lost all the first men like Awolowo and co, I think something happened to us and we need to cure it. We're damn too pessimistic in this country. Everything that is thrown at us, the first view is, instead of optimism, we go, oh, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Okay, if everything is not going to work, should we just leave people to just be killing people in the country and misbehaving in the country and not give governors the wherewithal? You can put them in charge of your money. They've created their own state civil defense, what they call that thing, the patrol, like Trace. It's working. It's not disturbed the FRCN, Federal Road Safety Corps, from working. They've created their own state revenue collection agency. It's working. It's not prevented the national revenue from working. They've created their own state advertising and communication synergy, you know what I'm saying? LASA. It's working. See, Nigerians and those of you that are on-air personality, you need to help us infuse courage and hope into our system.
The problem,
and then we will then begin, as we go along, we will then begin to say, okay, who's rogue here? Who's not rogue here? What's happening here? What do we want to hold them accountable for? Why are we keeping them in charge of our money?
The only way, there are lines of defense. And one of the reasons why we raise these issues is because they will show, the government has to show cause. In fact, we had a conversation with somebody the other day and the government has to show cause why people should trust them. Because the people, said, look, the people are most affected when these things happen. So we have to look at all the elements and what the encumbrances could be so that we can check it via legislation. That's where we're going. I don't think anybody will say bringing policing to the level of the people is a bad idea.
Good.
Just like local government is not a bad idea, but
so we agree on that.
It's been messed up. So we don't want this messed up as well. Bukola, you have the next one.
Well, I wonder if the governors know what they're up against. And I say this because, yes, if you watched, the engagement on our sister political program yesterday, the governor of Kaduna State did say that he acknowledged that population has increased and there's a need for more boots on the ground because of the challenge of ungoverned spaces. But the governors are also seeking a constitutional guarantee for the funding of state police. I believe there's a 3% contention somewhere. But we have seen prior to this, that there is an over-concentration on infrastructure development. It's as if the governors see that the yardstick for performance is mere building of flyovers and roads. So do you think that they are in full awareness of what they're up against? Because there are many dimensions to security. There's purchase of equipment, there's training. So what do you see to be the challenges ahead?
I think that, first of all, the biggest challenge we have for the country, whether it's federal, state, or local, is our general absence of consequence. If we had been a nation that applies consequences, some of these bad habits would have been dropped. Like you say, infrastructure now. One of the reasons why they all run into infrastructure is that it's very easy to steal money with infrastructure. You do some kind of budgeting, you put money there, they build a few roads. Some of us are happy with the road, but then the question is how much, what cost, where's the money? But because we don't do consequence, everybody gets convinced that stupid habit must continue. But the thing with security is that the consequence of a failure of security, when you have been given the wherewithal to do it, becomes a bit expanded. There are circumstances in Oyona and Shea Makinde. My heart is with you. I wish you success. Bring the girls home quick. But can you imagine if there was a state police? Can you imagine how livid the people of Oyo would be? As against they're saying, oh, the federal government sent the contingents there. He didn't want to receive them. You see, we're not developing and designing Nigeria only for today. We're creating the repair of the framework that has made our country very difficult to make progress. And this particular president seems to be willing to contribute the restructuring of the country, albeit quietly. For instance, you now have zonal, what do you call that thing now? Zonal investment companies or
regional.
The zonal one, the Southwest Development Commission, Northeast Development.
Yes, that's.
Yes. Can you just imagine for a second that they have state police? Can you imagine for a second? I trust the Southwest anyway. They now pull the Southwest Regional Development Commission, and based on that, they design their policing infrastructure in their southwestern states to almost be even, and figure out how to fund it. And can you imagine if the other zones too did that? The point I'm making is that the nations of the world are increasing the velocity of what their country will look like. Everybody, America is throwing people out. England is, everybody's complaining. South Africa is even irritatingly asking for xenophobia. Nations are at the point of deep reset. And one of the things we need to get to do deep reset in this country is looking at all those areas that have been giving us problems. Look at, marvel at governors who take their money, go and start buying cars to the Nigerian police force, buy APGs for them and all of that, and then donate it to Nigerian police force that they don't have. All that money that they are wasting, they might as well go and invest it in there. And let me say for clear, I am not sure that the white paper on implementation will not include some structured, proper way of how this thing is going to be created, because you can't just tell the governor that, okay, you have the permission to go and start the police, and then the next day in the morning you just start doing whatever the hell you like. There has to be a way the federal police links into the state police, and then maybe after some time we even go all the way to local police. But for now, we have gotten the state police as an instrument. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Federal Republic President, thank you. You have done noble.
So at the end of the day,
because I want to be a governor and I want to have my own police.
So the legislation speaks to what the standards should be. You can't go below what the National Assembly has prescribed. But let's leave state police for a moment. Let's talk about democracy. Let's talk about freedom of expression. It's been a thorny issue as to, in fact, with the state agencies and against the citizens. When it comes to the freedom of expression, the state will say, yes, you have the freedom to express yourself as much as you like. However, there's a limit if you look at even the fundamental rights, if it causes X, Y, Z. In fact, the classic case is the Sowunmi case between the president and him, because he said the president called him a criminal. The State Department is saying, come and explain. You went to court and said, does he have a right? How far can he go in being critical of the president, mentioning this? So I want your general overview, because there's a perception that the civic space is shrinking. The ability for people to speak their mind is limited. That's the argument. Is it just a perception? Is it a reality?
I think that what has happened is that some people have appropriated the entire civic space to themselves and their bully tactics. And therefore, other people have now relinquished the space to them. And it has then morphed to such a level where their own character defects, their inability to frame things and conversations properly, it has almost become a bit unnecessarily meddlesome. Any country that is in a reform state must be able to find sensible, intelligent people who drive civil society engagement from a point of view of how do we make it better. You can't drive civil society engagement on the yappity yap, every day, soli, every day you're calling people to the street. It starts to even irritate the backers of that process. You can't drive civil society advocacy on the basis, okay, we have a security challenge on our existential one, kids have been kidnapped, you're carrying cutlasses, you're running up and down the street and all of that, and you're making it seem as if, okay, the only thing you want to be is constitute yourself into a nuisance. And then you can't have advocacy only on rudeness and indecorous conversation and language. The world is too global for that. Part of the perception in there that affects Nigeria comes from the kinds of things we even say about ourselves. We talk so ill about ourselves, we talk so ill about our country, we shame our government, we call ourselves Nigeria has happened to you. And guess what happened? other countries of the world have now believed that nonsense we say about ourselves, and now we're beginning to pay the price. You're having people in South Africa, them South Africa, talk to us anyhow, forgetting all we have contributed. And why? Because we have been the one majorly telling everybody in the world that we're the worst people in the world. We had even an American president calling us a shit country. How does that even sound? So ridiculous. But you see, we've started managing. So I think that it's a catch-22 situation. The system must understand that people must have the right to ventilate, and they must have the right to have an alternative point of view, and it must be free, and they must be free to do so. They must be able to freedom. Democracy would not even try if there's no freedom of speech. But dude, the fact that you have freedom of speech, does that mean that the only thing you can say to your president, someone who is older than you, we have our own culture, we have our own tradition, we have our own way of life, it's just that? Is there no better way to say the same thing you want to say? Can't you just be a bit more responsible? You're already a presidential candidate for what is what. You can go and campaign. There's a difference between advocacy and politicking. You can't mix it up. You can't have a situation.
Another part of the conversation which we shouldn't miss out on is the treatment of Mr. Shiwara in court.
That's bad.
By the DSS. And then, there's also the matter of whether, constitutionally the DSS should be the one pursuing this case. It's an intelligence agency, and it has other constitutional responsibilities.
I understand that conversation.
Based on the act, establishing it in the first place.
The law does not say it cannot take people to court. The fact that the DSS have gone to court does not mean they're going to win the case. Is
this not supposed to be a personal matter between Mr. President, who has been called in a derogatory name by Mr. Shiwara?
The beautiful thing about the court is that if you take a stupid case to court, it will be allocated. And if it's allocated, a judge will thankfully sit on it and listen to what you want to say and take a decision. Never let us assume that we know what the decision will be before they finish the case. Sometimes when you are dragged before the law, behaving yourself in court is not a bad thing, because it speaks to your own lack of your anyhowness. Nobody's going to allow you to come to court and shout on the judge, and because of that you're going to get away with shouting on the judge. You will come into court, you will scream anyhow you like, but the judge is still going to, a good judge is still going to deal with the issues. And when she gets to the end of it, or he gets to the end of it, he might say, no, DSS, you have no right to have taken him, that was wrong. You didn't say, what he said is within what you can call the Amis version of being in public office. By that I mean, for your audience, the kind of criticism that somebody who puts himself in public office must just have to swallow. The judge may say that, but the judge is not going to allow you to come into court and be shouting revolution 9, instead of just allowing us to have the decent, simple issue of them. And then the judge is not going to allow you to waste our time. No judge is going to allow you to just be looking for clever ways to say, oh, you're not busy, you're going to represent yourself. Look, with human relation, it's the same. You have to know the borderline of what is excess. And let me say, at least my brother went in like together. I beg everybody to please treat him well. I was in Atlanta the other day, and for the first time I went to the Martin Luther King Museum. And as I sat in that museum looking at it, the only Nigerian my mind went to was Yele. And I could feel the kind of passion that is driving his advocacy. Therefore, Yele is our asset. He can be a little bit of a handful, but nothing must happen to him. You must treat him with decorum. You must treat him with discipline. He's been very consistent. People have police cases, Yele jumps in. People have issues, he jumps in. He may still have some, rough edges. We need him to smoothen up. But by God and everything that is good, make sure that you bring him back for us in one healthy piece. Too much of a national asset. We can't lose him to.
Right. So we're almost running out of time. I didn't want us to go to the substantive issue, because what is going on now is not even the substantive issue. Because I saw a release from the DSS seeking judicial interpretation of his right or otherwise to disparage or cyberbully the president. Those are the main issues. But what has been going on now is the issue of revocation of his bail and the issue of bench warrant.
Have you ever read the Bible?
I'm a Christian.
Good. Have you heard what Jesus said?
Just a moment. So the recusal is asking, because he's saying that at some point the judge, I don't know what the exchanges were, to be very fair, but they said the judge had asked him to remove his glasses, remove his wristwatch, his lawyer to kneel, so he felt uncomfortable. He said the judge should recuse himself now on that case. That's why we are on this back and forth. The GSS matter is a different kettle of fish.
I asked you whether you read the Bible, because I know
I read it over and
most likely you're a Christian. And you would have heard it's written in red, actually, where Jesus said, whatever you do, make sure you don't get yourself before the judge, the court. And if you get yourself before the court, this one goeth not, but by fasting and prayer. The point I'm trying to make is that The whole of the court system is designed in such a way that everybody must respect the courts. And when you go before a court, it's dangerous for a society to give the impression that your judges are not good. What you must look out for is that have you acted and behaved well before a judge? A judge is supposed to be an authority that says you've done something wrong, you are meant to come and explain yourself. You don't come in front of somebody that is supposed to come and tell whether you are right or wrong and start acting like you're a kid. And if the judge then says, throw him in prison, like he has done, okay, why has he not been sleeping in his house? You have to understand where you don't have power to go beyond the power of a constituted authority. I don't mean to say that we don't have bad judges, but I'm just saying that knowledge is profitable to direct. It's not bravery if you put yourself in harm's way and get yourself injured. I saw them trying to hold him. What if they broke his neck? Okay, people will say they killed Abiola, people are eating in their houses. So I don't want Yele to get into trouble. He's my kid brother, and I want him to really thank you for what he's doing. I wish him well. And federal government, Mr. President, I'm appealing to you personally. Well, Yele has abused you, meaning what? You've abused people in the past. Can you just tell these people to stop this theater and let the boy go?
Mr. Sowunmi, I'm glad you even mentioned that you went to school with Mr. Sowunmi.
With my friend, we went to school. I was a senior school.
And you're one of a kind yourself. You're a revolutionary yourself. So you would understand Mr. Sowunmi. As a matter of fact, you've called Mr. President the problem of the PDP in the past, amongst other derogatory names that you have called.
I always say borderline.
No. We can go back.
Oh yeah, go and look. You see that I always go borderline. I know. Listen, I always go borderline.
From persons in the presidency down the line who can bring out their file on what they're saying that are
the APC
very
administration
shameful.
Derogatory names.
Yes, man, that's an administration.
And today you are saying in fact, if we went back. It was the PDP that you supported in the presidential election in 2023. You were the presidential spokesperson of Mr. Atiku Abubakar in 2019.
Yes. But and even in 2023.
So today you're praying for Mr. President upon, the submission of state police matter. You're praying for Mr. President. Today, Mr. President is the best thing that happens.
No, it's not.
Sliced bread, as far as you're concerned.
No, it's not.
In one of your interviews, I even saw that you said that the 2023 presidential election was credible.
Yes, I did.
Where are you, Mr. Sowunmi?
Okay, let me tell you where I am.
Where do you stand?
Very beautiful question. So
we have just a minute.
We don't have time. That's what matters. And this is
we're talking for 30 minutes.
Now, this question. Listen,
let's just wrap it up.
Where am I?
Where are you? Yes.
I created the alternative because I started to say, are we going to continue like this? Can we not find a way to have consensus around development? What is the consensus here? And in trying to look for what is consensus, I kept looking for those big envelope things that have been sitting in our books forever. Awolowo wanted state police, as all of them wanted it, and all of these, we couldn't get it because somebody always felt that all of those powers should reside in the federal government, and somebody is coming to relinquish it. Everybody has discussed subsidy in this country. Any sensible person have discussed it. Nobody wanted to do it. Everybody was pushing it forward and forward. And somebody has done it. Everybody was talking about the currency. Somebody sits down in his house, collects money from CBN, runs to the black market. You see, I did not become an understanding person to the presidency because I'm in his party. I'm not. I became an understanding person to the president because, number one, I know what the article proposals and plans were for 2 election cycles, and I know the level of restructuring that was in there. I know how long this country has been discussing restructuring and what are the critical elements that...
Why should we believe you? It would appear as if it's since your meeting with Mr. President last year
let me tell you what you have done.
Your musically changed.
What would have been...
Are you working for the APC on the ground, Mr. Sowunmi? Because we see you at some APC government events where you're praising some APC governors.
Let me tell you what would have been...
I'm watching time.
Let me tell you what would have been beautiful. What would have been beautiful is that you guys should have asked me to criticize them. And I would have taught opposition how to criticize them and where they are. But you never asked that. You never asked that. You asked me about
you have had an opportunity to criticize them, but you chose to praise the government.
No, because they've never asked me that. You asked me about state police. Am I supposed to fundamentally disagree with what I agree with?
No.
You asked me about subsidy. Or you asked me about coastal road. Am I truly supposed to fundamentally disagree with what I agree with?
So
I can't be that kind of person.
We're totally out of time, Mr. Sowunmi. We're totally out of time, Mr. Sowunmi. We know
believe this would be different if you had still been actively in the opposition, because
question.
as far as your membership of the PDP is concerned, you are either here nor there as far as your membership of the PDP is concerned.
Maybe the middle ground is actually where a lot of
development You're in the middle ground, apparently.
Absolutely.
No, you're in the middle ground.
The middle ground is
everything shows that you're in the middle ground.
It's always a good ground.
You're neither here nor there. So that's
Jeffrey, you say we're out of time. We must
totally
wrap up this now.
I am here, but only have a middle ground view.
Yeah.
We must differentiate that.
I
know the way to their party. I can join it tomorrow.
So maybe you are not a mindless critic.
No, I can never be. I want development.
But we just want you to.
So nobody's forcing you to be critical. That's the point that we're trying to make.
Mr. Sowunmi, you are.
Nobody's forcing you to be critical. No.
You can be critical if there are things
Mr. Sowunmi, you are a very intelligent man. We just want you to make up your mind whether you want to blow hot continually or you want to blow cold continually. Please make up your mind.
No. You can't listen. Listen, one last line. You can't run a dynamic nation on the business of blowing hot and cold. No, your eyes must be on development.
Mr. Sowunmi, I have a lot to talk about with you. But
don't worry, next time you invite me somewhere to talk.
Mr. Sowunmi is a chieftain of the PDP, well, whatever you make of that, and is the founder of the alternative movement. Thank you for coming on the morning.
Thank you, Bukola. It's nice to see you. Not seen you in a while.
We'll continue this after the break. Stay with us.
Oh, boy. Welcome back. Let's bring in our guest who has been standing by. Senator Nede Maswan is a senator representing Edo South Central District. He's the chair of the Ethics Committee. Distinguished, apologies and welcome to the program. I know you've been waiting.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning and welcome. We had to get off that back and forth. But let's start off from, maybe not exactly where we left off. Let's start from where we started from with Mr. Sowunmi. And that has to do with what the Senate did yesterday in the passage of the bill that establishes the state police and alters the constitution so that now state police is in a concurrent list and governors will be able to, manage their own security. Walk us through the thinking of the Senate, because two ways, on the pros and the cons that the Senate looked at and what the guardrails are by legislation that has been put in place to ensure that this meets expectation.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me and good morning to the viewers. The state police matter, I think it's something that should have been done a decade ago, if not more. We run a federation and not a monarchy or other form of government. And so for a federation, you had a federated state coming together to form a country. And if you also look at the characteristics of our people in Nigeria, you will find out that we all have our different nuances. And you marry that with what is happening today in the country, which is the insurgencies and the rest. And you also look at the strength of the police force today with our population, then it's not difficult to come to a conclusion that something drastic such as this ought to be done. State police, in my opinion, and I believe in the opinion of most of my colleagues that sat, reviewed, and passed it yesterday, is that every state should be able to police its borders. And every state should be able to control its own police force. A situation where you have a policeman in a state where that's the first time he's been to that state. He's not been to that state at all. He's been posted to that state. What does he know? Policing is not just standing on the street with a baton or with a gun. It also has to do with intelligence. And intelligence gathering, it's something that is very local. And so you see a local man or woman who does not know who this policeman is, it's difficult for this person to go on and pass on information to that policeman. If I know that a lot of Nigerians have concerns about the misuse of the police by the state governors and the rest, that is it's a founded truth. But we cannot, because of that, not address the matter that is before us. And I will also say that this idea of state police is something in progress. It's work in progress. I say so because as it comes to birth, situations will arise, and we'll begin to address those situations. Nothing is going to be perfect, and no country has a perfect law. Even in the US or wherever it is, you still see police abuse citizens and the rest, but it doesn't mean that we have to abolish it. We have to fine-tune and continue to fine-tune until we get what we want. But overall, I think this is something that we should have.
So in building on that question I asked, you've lived abroad, you've lived in Nigeria, you practiced, and you know how these things work in climes that we celebrate. And now we are trying to model it based on what we know because of the challenges we are facing as a country. I am sure that you may have made proposals or you've considered certain clauses and made your contributions to those clauses as to how this can be as effective as possible based on the uniqueness of the challenges we're facing, because what the Northwest is facing may be slightly different from what the Northeast and what the South is facing. So what are those things that you have seen that feels, because the law says that there's a minimum standard. Minimum standard they must not go below, but they have the permission to go above the minimum standard that's created by the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. So when the law puts that framework, what is the law trying to say in terms of standardization?
Well, what the law is trying to say is that we have our own individual, where every state has its own uniqueness. Lagos State, for instance, has its own uniqueness, given its economic base, given its economic muscles, given the fact that it has a lot of resources. So Lagos, for instance, can say, we want to acquire 4 or 5 helicopters to parade or to survey Lagos State for effective policing. Sokoto State might not be able to do that. But Sokoto State may also be able to put its policemen in the borders because they know where, they say who wears the shoes, know where it pinches. They know where the loopholes are in their states. There is no state, there is no governor in this state who does not really know its state. They know. Perhaps the problem they have is that they do not have the authority, they don't have the full powers to police their state, because commissioner of police in a state still do not take full orders from the governor. If the governor says do this, and the IG in Abuja says do the other one, the police commissioner is likely going to obey the IG and not the state and not the governor. But today, if we have a state police, the buck stops on the desk of that governor. And so if he hires the police commissioner who does not know what he's doing or who is not yielding results, fire him, hire the next one. Look, I remember during the Giuliani period in New York City, it happened when crime was so prevalent. He had about 2 or 3 police commissioners until he got the one from New Jersey who was able to do the work for him. You can't do the work, go home. Hire the next one until you get the results that you want. So we have a situation, we need a situation where a governor will be able to have full control of his borders, full control of security within his states. Now he has no complaint. The governors today will tell you, oh, I don't really have the full control over the policemen. He does not even have full control over how many police that will be sent to his states. But today, A state governor can say, I need a workforce, a police workforce of S number, given its challenges. And he'll put his resources there. The next state might say, no, I don't have such challenges. I just need this much. He puts his resources there. A situation where one size fits all in security matters cannot work. And so state police, in my opinion, it's something that we really need at this time.
Well, we'll go back to expand on the guardrails that have been provided in this document to ensure that it is not abused, because that's the biggest concern shaping this. But before that, I'd like to explore this very important point. If there was any doubt in the minds of Nigerians at all that this National Assembly is not tied to the apron strings of the president, perhaps this speedy consideration and passing of the State Police Bill, removes all of those doubts. Mr. President sends it on Tuesday, and in 24 hours, the Senate has passed it. And this is an executive bill, by the way, because there is, or the House of Representatives document itself that is being considered, for which the Deputy Speaker is the chair of the Constitution Review Committee. And we've been waiting for this, I think, since about last year. And here we have it. Mr. President sends it, and it is speedily considered. What are your thoughts on this particular concern that this particular 10th Assembly is tied to the apron string of the president?
Well, when you say this, then you assume that the Senate or the National Assembly has not been thinking about state police. We have been thinking about state police. As a matter of fact, from the beginning of the inception of this 10th Senate, state police have been an issue that some senators have brought up in closed sessions and so on and so forth. The House of Representatives themselves have looked at it. And I think they spent hours or days and weeks on it to be able to come with the documents that they had. Remember that what you saw on the floor yesterday was not the whole work. The work had been on in the committee. So the committee sat with its members of over 30 members, sat over it and review every point, every line item of it before it was presented to the whole floor. So I don't want you to think that what you saw on television yesterday was actually the work. No, the work was done way before that. It was only brought to the full floor for us to review what has been presented by the committee. Are we tied to the apron string of the president? I would not say so. I disagree with that, because when a bill is good, and we agree that at this particular time, this bill is needed, why do we have to waste time on it? Secondly, why do we have to disagree just because we want to not to be seen as close to the president? I mean, I don't think that works for the good running or proper running of a country. If a bill is good, it's good. If a bill is bad, it's bad. So,
Senator Maswa, if the president presents a loan request, even though there's removal of subsidy, we've saved trillions of naira on subsidy savings, even though states have more money, there's more sharing from the federation account, then the Senate passes it without any scrutiny.
Again, when you say without any scrutiny, is because what you saw was the outcome of that request on the floor. But what you didn't see is the committee that it was referred to. It is not when the president sends the request that we sit on it. It's further sent to a committee that sits over it, sometimes 2-3 days, to review back and forth as to the necessity for this loan. And if they agree, if the majority of that committee says, yes, we should have it, then it's brought to the floor for all of us to look at it again, assuming you don't belong to that committee. And so the end product is what you see, but the work you don't see that because that is in at the committee level.
Yes, distinguished. The reason that question is being asked is because the question around efficiency of oversight by the legislature itself, because some of the failures that has been pointed out at, for instance, the poster one has to do with the releases. The government gives its own excuses. Say Ministry of Health, for instance, Federal Ministry of Health, where I think over 200 billion was earmarked as the spending limit for that particular budget for that ministry. I think capital component, but less than maybe 50 million was released. Because if there's effective oversight, some of these things would have happened. So that's the reason we're asking, how efficient is the Senate in probing things that come from the president? I'll give you quick examples. So for instance, I always point to this. When the emergency rule in Rivers State happened, Nigeria was divided. Some say it's correct, some say it's wrong. But the National Assembly was borderline united, and they represent constituencies of divided country over the same issue. So sometimes one wonders, are you representing the people or you're representing yourself? Now we're talking about oversight and legislature now. Then there's also the recent issue of the standing order that were amended. Some people are saying it's a selfish one. The 10th Assembly wants to compound itself in the 11th Assembly. Even went ahead to do things that were against the Constitution in saying that senators-elect may not be able to vote for principal officers until they found out that it's in contradiction to Section 52 of the Constitution, and they corrected themselves maybe after 72 hours or so. So that's why we keep asking this question, whether or not the Nigerian Senate is not a rubber stamp. I hope you get it, sir.
I understand what you're saying. These two examples, let me take it one by one. The River State situation was a very unique one, and I'm sure that you will agree with me. The position of River State in the whole economic base of this country is something that we cannot take lightly. And the volatility of that situation in River State called for an immediate intervention. And you will agree with me that when that emergency was put on, and it doused the situation to the extent that, what people were expecting to happen didn't happen. And God forbid if there was something more volatile at that point, they would have disrupted our own economic base. And so that's a unique situation, and we hope that we don't have to be faced with such a situation again. On the issue of our rules, well, the Constitution also gives us the power to make our rules, to regulate us. Yes, those regulations cannot be in contravention of the Constitution. No, no condition, no situation is perfect. If you believe that those laws were made just to stifle certain individuals from holding offices, I don't entirely believe in that. I think what the Senate was trying to do was to make sure that experience matters in almost everything. To be a principal officer in some situations, you really need to have the experience. Otherwise, it might not go well for the Senate. But again, like you said, the Senate reviewed itself and did the proper thing. We are not perfect, but we are striving for perfection.
Distinguished, I know you're a politician, so you speak as a politician. However, what happened did happen. If we talk about experience, the current Senate president, when he came into the Senate, I think 2015 or so, he became a minority leader. He didn't have one-day legislative experience, but he became a minority leader. So being a proponent of the very thing he benefited from, he's been looked at in some quarters as selfish. But let's leave that for a moment. He will argue for himself and defend himself on those ones. But let's move on to other issues and talk about the 2027 election and the politics that has been interplayed. What really happened? Because I know that we heard, let me not use the word I know, we heard that the Senate had approached, the president to see how members, can secure tickets to come to the House and be part of the 11th Assembly. But it looks like all of that agreement was pushed away, and now the governors had some level of control I don't know, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think you got the ticket of your party to return to the Senate. But what really happened, and how do you think this will affect the performance of your party, given some of the grievances that looks like it's being managed, but we know how politics is being played?
Well, I like your how you put it, that you heard. I also was not in any meeting where such agreements were made. Also, I heard. I cannot tell authoritatively that a group of persons from the Senate went to the president and an agreement was made. I don't know about that. It could be true, it could not be true. Yes, my party, no, I didn't get a ticket of my party, but the case is still before the party, because we objected to certain principles or modalities of that primaries. And so we have also appealed, and the appeal is still before them. And so we haven't, the result of the appeal is not out yet. But again, this is politics, and this is how it is. Was there a question?
No, I was talking about how this will affect and impact the performance of your party. I tied it together.
How is it going to affect? How is it going to affect? Well, I don't know really. But if you're a party man, even when you don't get a ticket, it doesn't mean that you cannot work for the party. So how is it going to affect the party? I don't really see much of a negativity on that, because at the end of the day, members will come together, party members will come together and resolve the issue, and then move on to make sure that the party wins the election, because it's all about winning the election for your party. And I think that APC is poised to do that, to settle the matter, and then we will move on from there and work very well for the party to win.
Before the ship sails on the matter of state police, I'd like you to share with us your thoughts on the guardrails provided for in the Constitution on the sacking of a police commissioner. I wonder if the Senate, is confident that this is adequate, because even without state police, we see that in certain cases, in local government elections, for instance, that have been conducted in states, the ruling party in the states carries the day. And so the concern is very real about how this may be a tool for state governors to go after political opponents, especially during democratic elections. Is the Senate confident, and indeed the 10th Assembly in its entirety, that this is enough to, safeguard the powers, or check the powers of the subnationals, so to speak? Because the Senate also may be in the mix, because you'll be standing for elections, and elections will be conducted in states. Are you weary that the governors may be wielding excessive powers in this regard?
Well, in Nigeria, there's always an X factor. It doesn't matter what law you make, it still goes back to those who implement these laws. Hopefully, this is why we also talk about having responsible leadership. Leadership, or leaders who believe in democracy, leaders who believe in the rule of law, because you are a governor for 8 years if you have 8 years. At the end of the 8 years, you are no longer a governor. And you must, in your hindsight, know that the law you made today, or the law you abused today, can also be brought to abuse you yourself, or your loved ones, or those close to you. And so it's always in our best interest to make sure that we implement the law constitutionally. And so I believe that as we go on, things will begin to manage itself.
So you're leaving things to chance?
It's not a chance, but what I'm saying is that things will always, there will be situations, and those situations will always arise, and then we'll find solutions to them.
So would you say, let me not put my personal opinion, but let me ask the direct question. Do you think that Given this, so we're back to the issue of state police because it's what everyone is talking about. It's something we've, at least in this generation, we haven't seen it happen. We know it happens in other clients. You travel across the world, so you see how it works, but now it's here. When do you think that this state police should come into effect? As soon as when? Is it as soon as this year or after the election? What is the National Assembly looking at? They've done their part, I must say. It's now the state assemblies and then the president accentuated it.
Well, until the modalities are put in place. I mean, this is just the framework. And, you know, there's still going to be situations where every state will look, because it's going to go back to state House of Assembly for them to come up with their own laws, local laws, that is peculiar to them and to how they can run their state police. But it must be in tandem with the rules and regulations or this constitutional amendment. Once, like you said, there's a standard. Below you cannot go, but above you can. And so, and those standards must be adhered to.
All right, fantastic. Distinguished, wish you have more time to talk to you about some of the issues as far as your ambition is concerned. But are you hopeful that you're going to get this ticket eventually?
It's in God's hand, and it's also in the hands of the, it's also in the hands of the party. Whatever happens, happens, but we'll work for the party.
All right. So there's something that you're also responsible, but I don't think we have enough time for it. But I'm sure you heard about the case that had to do with the National Assembly being taken to court. I think we have 2 more minutes so I can ask this question. The National Assembly being taken to court over the issue, because when we have senators, we try to bring as many national issues as possible because you represent the people. But some are personal to the National Assembly, and that's why I'm bringing this up. That has to do with being taken to court, and the people that took, I think Sarah that took you to court, I mean the Senate to court, and won that case about the National Assembly, the SUVs that were bought for them. The judge frowned on that and made some decision that I don't know whether they've appealed that particular case, but to the effect that given the challenges that the country is going with, the National Assembly cannot earmark and then themselves be the ones to do the procurement process to buy vehicles for themselves. How is the National Assembly responding to that generally? Because I haven't seen any official response. Well,
I mean, I think that's where it should be, official response. So we'll leave it to the management of the National Assembly. Remember, we have a clerk. We have the leadership, and it's something they will respond to. And I believe that it has been appealed by the management, and for that reason, so it's subjudice, and so we'll leave it at that level.
Very quickly, since we have about a minute left, since you've left everything to God as far as your aspiration and the ticket is concerned, are you planning on defecting like Senator Garba made?
No, not at all, not at all, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, not at all.
Well, remember that you said this. It's on record on national television.
Not at all.
Yeah. But you just recently defected. That's why we're asking whether you defect again. You took the obedience mandates to the APC on your mandates. These days, where you guys...
Excuse me, where's Labour Party now?
Well, Labour Party is still existing. It's just that the people that moved it that time...
Oh, come on now, come on, in one state. Look, when we left Labour Party, it's not because of disloyalty or anything, but Labour Party was decimated. You knew what happened. Even Obi himself left. I mean, come on. Let's be honest with this situation. The Labour Party at the time we left was already gone. If Obi left Labour Party, who is he leaving it for?
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question in future. Now, you see this part you've mentioned, I'm going to keep it on record because I don't be, I'm going to keep it on record, Senator, because I know where I was going to with that question, but we don't have to. Senator Neda Emerson is the senator representing Edo South Central District in the 10th National Assembly. He chairs the Senate Ethics Committee. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, we will bring you yet another leg, this time from an expert who is in the field of, anything that has to do with security. Stay with us, we'll be back.
Welcome back. And we're staying with this matter of national security, even in this very segment. And it's a no-brainer, really, because security challenges are increasingly complex as they are myriad. And perhaps that's the reason that as the president transmitted the constitutional amendment bill for state police, drew a lot of reactions, even now that the Senate has passed this bill. So there are people who are for and there are those who are against. And one person who appears not to be in particular support of the state police consideration as it gets more support joins us now on the program this morning. Captain Bish Johnson is a security expert and he joins us virtually. Captain Johnson, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
I'd like to pick up from where we may have stopped with the senator who was one of those, of course, threw his weight behind the state police bill yesterday on the floor of the Senate. And he says, when I raised that concern about, abuse and whether the constitutional provision for, protection of the structure, now being the state police commissioner appointed by the governor, cannot be sacked except on approval of the National Police Council, whether it's enough for, the protection of the state police structure and to checkmate the excesses of the state executives. He says that, that will have to be, addressed as it unfolds, without quoting him copiously. Are you satisfied with that response? And of course, I know that you also have points that you have outlined for which you believe that the state police structure cannot work. So you have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, no, let me correct your opening statement. I am not opposed to state police. As a matter of fact, I have been an ardent advocate for state police for nearly a decade now, or even more than a decade now, because I have always believed that the funding and the security of lives and property remains the ultimate responsibility of government. I just had some issues with regard to the way the implementation framework was put together and those who are involved in putting that implementation framework because of the situation we are in right now. We are in a hybrid threat environment. The police that we know when Nigerian police was established is no longer the threat environment that we have in the country now and quite frankly all over the world. So my concern is about the guardrails that were put in place. I have gone through what is in the public media with regards to ensuring that state police don't become tools for governors to hijack and begin to intimidate and oppress their political opponents. And so far, I am satisfied with that. But having said that, that is not the only concern and that is not the only guardrail that we should put in place. One of the guardrails, if you have read the article that I sent out, is with respect to the involvement of the current Nigerian police in the establishment of the implementation framework for this state police. And I am saying that we cannot decentralize police just simply because we want to decentralize police. And we cannot replicate 37 Nigerian police force in the country. If we allow the level of involvement of the current Nigerian police in the implementation framework of the state police, what we are going to have is another Nigerian police in the 36 states and the FCT. And we all in Nigeria, we are not visitors to this country. We have had and we have seen the criticisms of Nigerians with respect to the way the Nigerian police has managed internal security of this country. The issues that were raised by NSAS protesters, youth, is real. Those issues are real, and those issues remain unresolved. And so if we replicate Nigerian police at 36 states and the FCT, what we are going to have is a culture, the same culture of Nigerian police in the states. And then that will complicate our problems rather than solving them. So those are the issues that I have. But not that I am opposed to state police. I have been an ardent supporter for state policing. And let me say this, Bukola. You see, we elect leaders to make hard and difficult decisions. If leadership were only about making easy and popular decisions, there would be little need for leaders because ordinary citizens, as you know, can make such decisions for themselves. But the true test of leadership lies in the courage to confront complex challenges and take actions that may be difficult in the short term, but in the long run, they will be very, very important for the stability and progress of our nation. And so in this regard, I must commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for demonstrating the political courage to undertake reforms that previous administrations either avoided or lacked the way to pursue. If you take his decision on the removal of fuel subsidy, the advancement of local government autonomy, and now the push for the establishment of state police, a significant policy initiative that address long-standing structural issues within Nigeria's governance and security architecture. However, I still have reservations that we have not put enough guardrails and that we are rushing this thing. And if by doing so, we will replicate Nigerian police in all 36 states and the FCT. And that will not augur well for us. And also, there is not enough guardrail to ensure that these state policies don't become religious police in some states, where states will now turn it into a religious law enforcement to begin to execute and implement their religious and ethnic doctrines in their various states. So we have to look at all these things. We know Nigeria is a very complex place. We don't want a situation where the Nigerian state police will become another form of Hizbah, where some states begin to use the state police to implement religious doctrines.
All right, Captain Bish, I would like you to be specific as to what you would like to be in it. You've commended the president. Of course, he's done some things with very courageous things he's done. It's also costing him some backlash as well. However, one of the things you mentioned that he's done, he even took the local government's case to court, and he won. But the implementation is still, I think that case was won in 2024, if I remember very well, or 2025. I'm not sure when, but it's over a year plus now. The monies are still not going to the local government because of JAC issues, constitutional issues, what constitutes a federation, whether it's federal and state, or whether it's federal, state, and local government. All of that argument has actually botched that. He even threatened them, let's not use the word threaten, warned them that he may use an executive order to implement what he has to do. But I also understand where you talk about the rush, whether there's a need for this rush or not. But Clause 17, sub 17, I want to read it. I read it to one of our guests earlier, whether this is enough to assuage your concern about turning it into ethnic or religious within certain states. No direction under this section shall require arrest, detention, investigation, non-investigation, deployment, or use of force against any named person, political party, association, or class of persons except in accordance with law, or require a police service or any member of the police service to act unlawfully, violate fundamental rights, suppress lawful political activity, discriminate against person or group, or enforce the law for partisan, ethnic, religious, and sectional and personal purpose. So is this enough guardrail? But I also hear your fear, because even now campaigns are coming and you see some governors using their state agencies to raise the amounts for outdoor advertising, more like discriminating by price. So it's a valid case. But do you have additional guardrail besides what I've read?
Well, I haven't seen this particular section that you just read now, but based on what you have read, I think it's a good place to start. One thing I believe is that, you know, legislations and in governance, you don't president where he said they are approaching this matter in two phases. There's going to be one part is going to be constitutional amendment, and then the other part is going to be the Act of the National Assembly. So I believe that as we unveil the state police framework, that with the Act of the National Assembly, if there are other areas that we may not have satisfied in this initial stage, the Act of the National Assembly we may go back to the National Assembly, and through Act of National Assembly we may be able to close those other gaps. But I believe that there has to be enough guardrails to ensure that we do not replicate Nigerian police at the state level again, because Nigerian police has its issues with the citizens. The citizens have not really been satisfied by the work they are doing. And we saw it manifest itself during the NSAS protest, where young people came out to talk about how they are being victimized and how they were being terrorized by their own very police. And some of those issues that are raised are still unresolved. I've had people talk about secondment of Nigerian police officers to become commissioners of police at the exclusion of other security agencies, including intelligence agencies. I don't think that that is the way to go. It must not be the prerogative of officers, both serving and retired Nigerian police officers, to be seconded to these state policies, because they will transfer the same culture at the Nigerian police to the state levels. And besides, like I stated earlier, we live in a hybrid threat environment. The crimes that we face today are beyond setting up road checkpoints on the roads. They have gone digital. So we have to ensure that the state police that we are putting in place are state police that are robust enough to be able to deal with issues of terrorism, banditry, insurgency, financial crimes, economic subversion, including even geopolitics, international politics. It cannot be, business as usual, and the same experience that we have had with the state, with Nigerian police. So the idea of secondment of Nigerian police officers to these state policies, I have an issue with that. It should be open. There must not only be Nigerian police officers who should head these state police until such a time that state police people have lasted long enough to be able to produce their own leadership. You see, the success of the state police depends solely on the culture. And that culture is the culture that has to be built now. If we build a wrong culture now, a culture of impunity and a culture of corruption in the state police, it will take us a long time to be able to correct it.
So, pardon me, Captain Bish, it's the title of your article that seems to suggest that you're not particularly in support of the current state police proposition, and the title reads, "Replicating the Nigeria police force at the subnational level will not resolve Nigeria's insecurity nightmare. It will instead exacerbate it." And that's as clear as can be. But thank you for this current clarification on what your position really is as far as state policing is concerned. From what we get that you're trying to say, what is more important is to ensure that what is put in place is a structure that works, and not just replicating the same policing structure that we have at the national level at the state level. But you've been emphasizing on the point about guardrails. If you can do this in 60 seconds, besides the provision that ensures that the state governor cannot just sack a state police commissioner without the input of the National Police Council, what else can be done to ensure that the state policing structure is as neutral can be, particularly during elections?
We have to be meticulous in our vetting process and how we recruit people who are going to be in this state police. It should not be a state police where we are going to, because governors still, even with this guardrail that we put in place, governors can still turn this thing into their political arm by recruiting only their members in the state police. And so I have not seen a guardrail that will stop governors from ensuring that most people who are in their state police are not members of their political party. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. So there must be strong mechanism in which we vet people who are recruited into these various state police to ensure that we don't have a religious fundamentalist heading a state police, and that we don't have state policies that are more partisan than neutral, which is what we are trying to achieve. So far, I haven't seen any guardrail to that end. I have also not seen a guardrail that stops states from recruiting people who are not Nigerian citizens.
All right.
Don't want to have a situation where we are going to have state militia by recruiting foreigners into these various state police, and
Yeah.
in the long run, they will begin to hunt us.
And that's an important part of the conversation. But we must anchor very quickly at this point because we have one more place to touch. Thank you so much, Captain Bish Johnston, for coming through on this conversation and bringing your expertise to bear. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely, and from here, fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's cross over now to Delta State, where the people of Isoko Nation, we've had them over and over. Yeah, we've had the Delta State government. We have, I think, twice we've had the President General of the Isoko Nation, as well as other representatives of that region, and even a gentleman who has been at the vanguard of ensuring that Isoko people have light. So the contention is always whether or not they have light in their area. So that's the protest you can see ongoing as we speak. I don't know whether we can catch one or two persons to speak to the cameras. So Isoko people are complaining that despite the oil resources in their locality, they do not have lights. Good morning, whoever can hear me at this point.
We've had quite a number of them.
Yes, we have quite a number of them.
Is it Mr. Obaro?
That looks like Mr. Obaro. Mr. Obaro, can you hear us?
We can hear you, sir.
All right, Mr. Obaro. Yes, we've had engagement with you. We've had engagement with the President General. We've had engagement with the government. What is leading to this protest today?
What is leading to this protest is the fact that we've been talking, we've been protesting in Isoko. Despite our protest, the government has not heard us. And because of what the commissioner said on channels, that Isoko people have not protested, and therefore, the state government is not aware, so government house. So we took the protest to government house live. Because as I speak to you right now, the whole of Isoko from south to north, not even a flash of electricity is in Isoko, north, south. With all the communities in Isoko, there's no electricity. So we took the protest to government house.
So as we speak now, are you at the government house?
We are right at the government house.
So have you been attended to by any official of government, maybe Commissioner for Energy, who we haven't seen? I think we extended an invitation. I don't know why he didn't show up, but at least the Commissioner for Information was kind enough to come to speak to us. Who have you spoken to, and what are they saying back to you?
So far, no official of the government has come, but we are hoping that they will come. They will come.
But Mr. Barrow, very quickly, beyond television appearances and public protests like this, we've had several engagements. Have they led to engagements behind closed doors with government on the ways out of this particular predicament? Has there been anything like that, and what has it produced?
Well, the truth is that somehow our agitation has produced something little. But we are not taking that little. As a matter of fact, our focus right now for the protest is the completion of the 132 kV substation in Ozoro, because that's the solution for Isoko electricity. Yeah. The Delta State government is aware, but they are giving us just 33 kV, which is just a picture for what Isoko needs for electricity. So we reject it. We reject it. What we want is the urgent completion of the 132 kV. Isoko people have the resources. We are not poor. Isoko as a nation, we have more than 100 oil wells. We are talking of a nation that has over 8 place stations, and then you see the oil mining list. We have OML 26, OMM 30, OM 60, and so many oil wells. And despite this, the government is saying that it's giving us 33 kV. That will not solve our problem. The only thing that will solve our problem is the urgent completion of the 132 kV substation in Ozoro. And the painful thing is that...
Go ahead, Mr. Barrow.
This same project that is cited in Ozoro, in other places that is cited, they have all completed here. In Akuzere, years have been completed. In Afro, years have been completed. In Amupe, years have been completed. It's going to come on and counting. So it's a place for us.
So these places that you have cited, they're in other parts of Delta State, right?
Come again, ma'am.
These places that you've cited, or Efunu and the others, they're in other parts of Delta State?
Yes.
All right. What about your representatives at the National Assembly, both at the Senate and the House of Representatives? Have they intervened in your plight in any way?
I don't know if they have intervened. For us, as far as we are not seeing a solution, it means that they have not intervened. That's the meaning. That's the meaning.
So as we begin
because we'll be crying.
Sorry. As we begin to wind down, How long do you want to keep this protest going?
We will be here until government attends to us. As a matter of fact, all the holy, in fact, Isoko women are coming. This one, now your little crowd there, yeah. But in the next 2 hours, this whole place will be crowded. And not until we are attended to, we are not leaving the government house.
All right, Mr. Barra, are those religious leaders or traditional leaders I'm seeing with you? Who are they? The ones that are dressed?
No, these are chiefs. These are prominent chiefs in Isoko. I will give the mic to them so that they can speak to you.
We just have 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Just a word. Your name, sir, and your thoughts, quickly. 30 seconds.
Okay, my name is Double Chief Jerry Amatuke. I'm the leader, founder, Isoko People's Measures for Good Governance. Popularly known as IPM. The problem Isoko has been suffering for over 15 years of non-electricity supply. All businesses have crumbled. A lot of things are happening. The life of the common man in Isoko become so critical. People that are selling pure water, making daily living with pure water and others, they can no more because there's no electricity. To buy a liter of fuel today is about 1,300 something naira. Diesel, the same thing. Businesses are crumbling. Hotel owners are crying. Welders, a lot of, in fact, I cannot name them. Over 15 years, Isoko has not experienced a light, even an normal light. Now, as I speak to you, over two to 3 years, we have not even seen a flash of light. As I speak to you. And Isoko produces oil. We have over 8 fuel stations.
All right. My apologies, we're totally out of time. I think we've done our bit by creating this awareness for the protesters from Isoko Nation who are protesting against the lack of light. Obaro, thank you, and the chief and the rest of the people. We hope the government can come, and I'm sure they are watching. I'm sure they will respond, and would like to get the feedback as soon as they respond to you guys. Thank you so much.
We want to see the governor himself. We want to speak with the governor, not a representative. We want to speak.
All right, guys.
Just to mention that some of their leaders at the National Assembly are Senator Joel Onowakpo, and there's also the lawmaker representing Isoko North and South, Senator Ajiro Gene Jonathan. Your people in Isoko Nation do not have power supply, and they have been without power supply in the last 10 years. In other areas, 10 years plus. So whatever you can do, please intervene on their behalf such that power can be restored to Isoko Nation. And that's how it's been on the Morning Brief today. Thank you so much for being there. We will be back again tomorrow for the home stretch. I am Bukola Koka.
Sunrise Daily is up at the top of the hour. I'm Jeffrey Ozoma. Bye-bye.